It's that time of year. So we're going to talk about Jesus' birth this morning. Christmas is one of the biggest, truly worldwide holidays today. But how important is it really? Is Jesus' birth? How important is it? Before I forget, if you're watching this later on, please like and subscribe or follow for more. Appreciate that. So let's get started and look at what a tradition actually is. So I looked up on Wikipedia what a tradition actually is, and the definition is a system of beliefs or behaviors, a folk custom passed down within a group of people or society with symbolic meaning or special significance, with origins in the past, a component of cultural expression and folklore. Common examples include holidays or impractical but societal meaningful clothing, like, and it gives an example of lawyers' wigs or a military officer's spurs. But the idea has also been applied to social norms, behaviors such as greetings or etc. Traditions can persist and evolve for thousands of years. The word tradition itself derives from the Latin word assumed tradiere, literally meaning to transmit, to hand over, to give for safekeeping. While it is reportedly assumed that traditions have an ancient history, many traditions have been invented on purpose, whether it be political or cultural, for over short periods of time. And we're going to talk about a few traditions on Christmas, since that is the birth of Jesus according to most Christianity today. The first one we're going to talk about is the Yule log. I just did Wikipedia for these things. So Yule log or Yule clog, or it's also called Christmas block, is a specifically selected log burnt on a hearth as a winter tradition in regions of Europe and subsequently North America. The origin of the folk custom is unclear, like other traditions associated with Yule, such as the Yule boar. The custom many ultimately derive from Indo-European religion, as similar traditions have been recorded in Celtic, Germanic, and Baltic and Slavic paganism, among others. American folklorist Linda Watts provides the following overview of the custom. The familiar custom of burning a Yule log dates back to early solstice celebrations and the tradition of bonfires. Sound familiar? As far as the time of year, the solstice? The Christmas practice calls for burning a portion of a log each evening until the 12th night, or January 6th. The log is subsequently placed beneath the bed for luck, and particularly for protection from the household threats of lightning and, with some irony, fire. Many have beliefs based on the Yule log as it burns, and by counting the sparks and such, they seek to discern their fortunes for the new year and beyond. Watts notes that the Yule log is one of various emblems of, and I thought this was fascinating, divine light that feature in winter holiday customs. Other examples include the Yule fire and the Yule candle. According to the Dictionary of English Folklore, although the concept of Yule extends far into the ancient Germanic record long before Christianization, the first clear references to the tradition appear in the 17th century. Thus, it is unclear from where or when exactly the custom extends. However, it has long been observed that the custom may have much earlier origins, extending from customs observed in Germanic paganism. So that's the Yule log. Second up is Saint Nicholas. Saint Nicholas flourished in 4th century Myra, Lysic, and Asia Minor, near modern Turkey. Western feast day, December 6th, Eastern feast day, December 19th, one of the most popular minor saints, commemorated in the Eastern and Western churches, and now traditionally associated with the festival of Christmas. In many countries, children receive gifts on December 6th, St. Nicholas Day. He is the patron saint of children and of sailors. I didn't know that, and I was in the Navy. Never told us that. Interesting. Nicholas's existence is not attested by any historical document, so nothing certain is known of his life except that he was probably bishop of Myra in the 4th century. According to tradition, he was born in the ancient Lycian seaport city of Patra, and when young traveled to Palestine and Egypt. He became bishop of Myra. Soon after returning to Lucia, he was imprisoned and likely tortured during the persecution of Christians by the Roman Emperor Diocletian, but was released under the rule of, and you might remember this one, Constantine the Great. He may have attended the First Council of Nicaea in 325 AD, where he allegedly struck the heretic Arius in the face. He was buried in his church at Myra, and by the 6th century, his shrine there had become well known. In 1087, Italian sailors and merchants stole his alleged remains from Myra and took them to Bari, Italy. This removal greatly increased the saint's popularity in Europe, and Bari became one of the most crowded of all pilgrimage centers. Nicholas's relics remain enshrined in the 11th century Basilica in San Nicola at Bari. Though fragments have been acquired by churches around the world, in 2017, researchers dated one such relic fragment, a piece of a hip bone from the church in the United States, and confirmed it to be from the 4th century. Nicholas's reputation for generosity and kindness gave rise to legends of miracles he performed for the poor and unhappy. He was reputed to have given marriage dowries of gold to 3 girls whom poverty would have otherwise forced into lives of prostitution, and to have restored to life 3 children who had been chopped up by a butcher and put in a tub of brine. In the Middle Ages, devotion to Nicholas extended to all parts of Europe. He became the patron saint of Russia and Greece, of charitable fraternities and guides, of children, sailors, unmarried girls, merchants, and pawnbrokers, and of such cities in Freiburg in Switzerland and Moscow. Thousands of European churches were dedicated to him, one built by a Roman Emperor Justinian I at Constantinople, Istanbul. As early as the 6th century, Nicholas's miracles were favorite subject for medieval artists in liturgical plays, and his traditional feast day was the occasion for the ceremonies of the boy bishop, a widespread European custom in which a boy was elected bishop and reigned until Holy Innocents' Day, December 28th. After the Reformation, devotion to Nicholas disappeared, and all the Protestant countries of Europe, except Holland, where his legend persisted as Sinterklaas, a Dutch variant of the name Saint Nicholas. Dutch colonists took this tradition with them to New Amsterdam, which is now called New York City, and the American colonies in the 17th century. Sinterklaas was adopted by the country's English-speaking majority under the name Santa Claus, and his legend of a kindly old man was united with old Nordic folktales of a magician who punished naughty children and rewarded good children with presents. The resulting image of Santa Claus in the United States crystallized in the 19th century, and he has ever since remained the patron of gift-giving festival of Christmas. Under various guises, St. Nicholas was transformed into a similar benevolent gift-giving figure in the Netherlands, Belgium, and other Northern European countries. In the United Kingdom, Santa Claus is known as Father Christmas. A Santa suit is a suit worn by a person portraying the legendary character Santa Claus. In modern American version of the suit can be attributed to the work of Thomas Nast for Harper's Weekly magazine, although it is often incorrectly thought that Hayden Sundblom designed the suit in his advertising work for the Coca-Cola Company. Sundblom's work did standardize the Western image of Santa and popularize the image of the red suit with the white fur trim. This has become the image of the American Santa, while in some European countries where St. Nicholas remains popular, the outfit worn is closer to religious clothing, including a bishop's mitre. Even ever wonder why he has been popularized in a red fire suit, and that he comes down a chimney to a fireplace at the bottom? I don't think it would be hard at all to make a case that this could represent the god Molech. It certainly has striking resemblance to what his imagery was. You remember Molech, the hands holding out, and when you pulled the hands up, the mouth opened and it had the fire in the belly, and they used it with the babies because the children of Israel got in trouble giving their babies to Molech, making them pass through the fire. So what else can we tell about Santa Claus? No, Jeff, Satan wouldn't be that obvious, would he? I would say so.
It's only 2 letters swapped around.
Yeah, you just move the N to the end. So the third thing we'll talk about is, of course, the tree. According to Wikipedia, the Christmas tree is a decorated tree, usually an evergreen conifer, such as a spruce, pine, or fir, or an artificial tree of similar appearance associated with the celebration of Christmas. The custom was developed in Central Europe and the Baltic states, particularly Estonia, Germany, and Livonia, where Protestant Christians brought decorated trees into their homes. The tree was traditionally decorated with roses made of colored paper, or apples, wafers, tinsel. Moravian Christians began to illuminate Christmas trees with candles. So the original lights were candles, which were often replaced by Christmas lights after the advent of electrification. Today, there is a wide variety of traditional and modern ornaments, such as garlands, baubles, tinsel, and candy canes. An angel or a star might be placed at the top of the tree to represent the angel Gabriel or the Star of Bethlehem, respectively, from the Nativity. Edible items such as gingerbread, chocolate, and other sweets are also popular and are tied to or hung from the tree's branches with ribbons. The Christmas tree has been historically regarded as a custom of the Lutheran churches, and only in 1982 did the Catholic Church erect the Vatican Christmas tree. In the Western Christian tradition, Christmas trees are variously erected on days such as the first day of Advent, or even as late as Christmas Eve, dependent on the country. Customs of the same faith hold that the 2 traditional days when Christmas decorations, such as the Christmas tree, are removed are Twelfth Night and if they are not taken down on that day, Candlemas, and later of the latter of which ends Christmas season in some denominations. The Christmas tree is sometimes compared with the Yule tree. We just read about the Yule log, especially in discussions of its folklore origins. Modern Christmas trees originated in Central Europe and the Baltic states, particularly Estonia, Germany, or Livonia. Sound familiar? All this stuff comes from around the same spot. During the Renaissance in the early modern Europe, the 16th century origins are sometimes associated with Protestant Christian reformer Martin Luther, who is said to have added lit candles to the evergreen tree. The Christmas tree was first recorded to be used by German Lutherans in the 16th century, with records indicating that Christmas tree was placed in the cathedral at Strasbourg in 1539 under the leadership of the Protestant reformer Martin Bucer. The Moravian Christians put lighted candles on those trees. The earliest known, firmly dated representation of the Christmas tree is on the keystone sculpture of a private home in Turkey. So does God have anything to say about this? So we'll start in Jeremiah chapter 10. 2-5. Thus says the Lord, do not learn the way of the heathen, and do not be terrified at the signs of the heavens, for the nations are terrified at them. For the customs of the people are vain, for no one cuts a tree out of the forest with an axe, the work of the hands of a workman. They adorn it with silver and gold, they fasten it with nails and hammers, so that it will not move. They are upright as the palm tree star, they are like a scarecrow in a garden of cucumbers, but do not speak. They must surely be carried because they cannot walk. Do not be afraid of them, for they cannot do evil nor good, for it is not in them. So we've kept using this word pagan or paganism. So what does it really mean? What is pagan or paganism? Well, according to Wikipedia, paganism is from a classical Latin paganus. It means rule, rustic, or civilian. It is a term first used in the 4th century by early Christians for people in the Roman Empire who practiced polytheism, or ethnic religions other than Judaism. In the time of the Roman Empire, individuals fell into the pagan class either because they were increasingly rural and provincial relative to the Christian population, or because they were not soldiers of Christ. Alternative terms used in Christian texts were Helene, Gentile, and heathen. That's the word used in the scripture we just read, heathen. Ritual sacrifice was an integral part of ancient Greco-Roman religion and was regarded as an indication of whether a person was pagan or Christian. Paganism was broadly connected to the religion of peasantry. So if you were a peasant, you were considered pagan, which is baffling to me, but. So do we have any way of knowing? Now we're going to switch over to talk about, is there any way we can know approximately when Jesus was really born? So we'll start out in Luke. Luke 1, chapter 1, verse 5. There was in the days of Herod, the king of Judah, a certain priest of the course of Abijah, Zacharias by name, and his wife was of the daughters of Aaron, and her name was Elizabeth. So what is this course of Abijah? If we go back to 1 Chronicles, David set up courses, 24 in all, to serve twice a year in the temple. Specific priests and Levites were to be there on specific days, weeks. Now the weeks started at noon Sabbath and went to noon Sabbath. And these are the courses that he records. And you can see verse 10, the last one, the 8th, is Abijah. So he was of the course of Abijah. Now you have to keep in mind, during the holy day weeks, the days of unleavened bread, Pentecost, trumpets, atonement, and tabernacles, all of the priests and the Levites were to be at the temple. So because of the days, the Feast of Unleavened Bread, the 8th course would have been the 9th week, and the 10th week would have been the week of Pentecost. So with the help of my wonderful wife, we went back and did a calendar of when this course would have been. So, I am a visual person, so this really helped me, and I hope it helps you. So this period here would have been the period that Zechariah would have served in the temple. So it would have been between Iyar 27 and Sivan 12. That would have been the 2-week period. The first week would have been the eighth course of Abijah, and then the Sunday on the 23rd, Sivan 6, which would have been May 23rd, would have been Pentecost, right in the middle. So we can speculate on what day of this 2-week period that Zacharias was in the temple and saw Gabriel. But I think we can all agree that most likely it would have been on the day of Pentecost, because it's a Moab, and God does everything on a Moab, generally speaking. So if he saw the angel during that 2-week period, we can go to the next 2 weeks, and let's say Elizabeth conceived within the next 2 weeks. So that would have been between Sivan 13 and Sivan 26, or May 30th through June 12th. So Mary was visited by Gabriel approximately 6 months later. We find that in Luke chapter 1, verse 36. Now behold, this is Gabriel speaking, Elizabeth, your kinswoman, has also conceived a son in her old age, and this is the 6th month for her who was called barren. Now this would have been late November or early December of that year. The 2-week period would have been between November 28th and December 11th. If we fast forward from there 3 months, we come to John the Baptist being born somewhere between February 27th and March 11th. I'm sorry, sweetie, he wasn't born And then, if we add 6 months to that date, you have Jesus' birth falling somewhere between August 27th and September 9th. Or on the Hebrew calendar, Elul 28 and Tishri 8, between those two dates. And right in the middle of this 2-week period is Tishri 1. What happens on Tishri 1? Does anybody know? Trumpets. Tishri 1 is trumpets. There are other reasons that I believe that he was born on Tishri 1. And we can discuss that if you like. Some people believe that he was born on the first day of the Feast of Tabernacles. I mean, that doesn't fall within that 2-week period, so I would challenge them there. But also, if you think about this, remember the story of the angels wanting to tell somebody, so God said, well, here's some shepherds out in the field. Go tell them. And the story of what happened, what the angels saw up in the sky, the singing and all that. What happens on the first day of the Feast of Tabernacles in the sky? It's a full moon. Would you really want a full moon taking away from that? Or would you want it to be a black sky to be able to see all of that? I believe that you would prefer a black sky and maybe even a little bit of cloud cover. Who knows? Wasn't there, so. And the other reason is that it's supposed to be the time of his second coming. So it would just make sense, and the older I get, the more I study, the more God's stuff makes sense. That he would come on the same Moab, both first time and the last time. So is the Father really concerned if we know when he was born? Does it really matter? How important is it that we know the day he was born? So we can go to Hebrews 7, verse 3, because if you think about it, he's there from the beginning. In the beginning. In John 1:1, there was God. There was two of them. One called God, and the other one called the Word. So he's been there from the absolute beginning. So does it really make a difference if we know when he was physically born? Without father, without mother, without genealogy, having neither beginning of days nor end of life, but having made, like the Son of God, remains a priest forever. We can talk about, if you have an argument for some other day that he was born. I've heard them say that some people believe he was born around Passover. But then you have to ask yourself, does it really matter? Does it really matter? Now, in contrast to when he was born, we know exactly what day he died. And in my mind, that is more important. We know exactly what we're supposed to do on that day. We know it's a solemn assembly. So, brethren, I got a lot of this information from the Faithful Version. If you don't have one, I strongly recommend that you can download it on your phone. Believe it or not, they actually give them away at the CBCG headquarters to brethren. I have 16, I believe it is, coming that were given to me. So we are going to freely give. So we look forward to get that. If you look in the appendices, either on your phone or in the back of the Bible, the actual Bible, Appendix E is where I got the majority of the dates and things that I have, and it helped me a lot. And you can read it, or if you have it on your phone, he will actually read it to you. So it really helped me look at not only when he was born, but what year he was born as well.